Welcome to our special. Welcome to our special. Welcome to our special. Welcome to our special.
Everybody, welcome to the Seattle Indie Slow Jam recap stream here with myself, Tim Cullings, the president. Everybody, welcome to the Seattle Indie Slow Jam and
I'm Andrew Goodenough. Hello.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so we did the Slow Jam back in last month. I forget the exact dates they were now.
We had the holidays with Thanksgiving, and just everything before that has disappeared.
Right. This was the 4th annual Seattle Indies Game Jam. We started it back in 2017 at the Living Computers Museum. We had about 60 of us there. It was an idea to sort of do like a community jam where the community got to pick and vote on the theme, and then make a game. I think the first one was Definitely Not a Scam was the theme. Those were some fun times. So fast forward 4 years later, we did a couple at the Science Center. It kept growing, and then this year we had to move it online, obviously, and turn it
For reasons outside of our control.
right, totally. Yeah. Decided to turn it into a slow jam because we're doing it online and we don't have the constraints of only having the Science Center for 48 hours. So gave everybody a little extra time, 2.5 weeks to work on something, and I think we had some really awesome games come out of it. What was some of your highlights this year?
For the Slow Jam?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I just really enjoyed the Discord community. Our Discord's gotten a lot more lively this year. There's a lot of folks who just hang around. I don't know their face. I don't know what they sound like, but I know their anime avatar, and we have good chats.
Right. Yeah, I think we had a lot of lively discussion on the Discord, and we had a really good end of jam day. I thought where everybody was playing the games and just having a fun time.
Oh yeah, we had so many multiplayer games, which we'll share later on the stream. But like the best part of the multiplayer games is playing with other people.
Right.
Single player games is a lonely experience. Still, introspective, but you can't beat the social madness that some of these multiplayer games brought.
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting so many multiplayer games and so many really good multiplayer games too. Like, it's really hard to do that in a normal jam, but with
We
these,
never see that for a normal gym. There's never enough time. Some of
I
these were online multiplayer. We have to stress people. If you're thinking this is like a local couch multiplayer, no, this is online multiplayer. That someone sets up a server and port forwards, and people all join it. It's crazy.
Yeah, totally. So there's just dedicated servers and
right,
all kinds of wildness going on.
This was our first time doing Slow Jam, which means we're not just doing 2 days a weekend, but we do 2 weeks. So I think some of our devs were like 7 times the time.
Right.
Fantastic. That's 7 times the scope. And they did it. So I can't throw stones if it worked.
No, I know. Normally that's the first thing we tell people not to do at a gym is like don't try to do online multiplayer, but
yeah, there's so many bugs you never account for, and like trying to get people into the game. But even if you get the multiplayer working, getting people into the same game is for some reason an impossibly hard challenge.
Right.
Yeah. Another cool thing about the slow jams was we just had so much more like art. I feel like oftentimes there's a lot of last minute art thrown into our game jams,
right?
And so our game jam entries are a lot more rough.
True. Yeah. No, the polish level on a lot of the art this year was way higher than normal, just because I think of the extra added time for people.
Yeah.
A lot of times things get cut because there's just no time for it. But this year I thought we had some really great stuff. So all that being said, I guess we can just jump right into starting to take a look at the games, and we can start with a game that you're familiar with.
What game could that be?
A little game called Cryptozootography.
Oh, nice. Let's get Kieran in here. There's also supposedly someone in the green room named Kevin Williams. Is that one of our interviewers?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I think they're here.
Oh, sweet.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Get in here.
I'll do that in a second. Hold on. You don't have to look at my face.
Everyone look away from the screen. Tim can't change the green rooms if you guys are looking. Everyone type in chat. Yeah, Alchemist Joker is here. Yeah. Fantastic.
Cool.
I see Ghost Bear. How you doing, Ghost Bear?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
How you doing, Kieran?
Good. How about you guys?
Doing great. Doing real well. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday indeed.
We got a whole bunch of people type in chat. Retrospect. Oh, nice. Retrospect says howdy. Brad says yo. Who else is here?
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday! Hey, Alchemist, you're here. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Oh man, glad you could make it. It's cold.
Now I'm hearing myself twice.
I wanted to stay in bed.
Dude, I understand that. I definitely understand that. I had some moments where I was like, man, I don't really want to get out of bed today. I just want to stay in bed and make cookies. And then I realized my wife had already left to go and take care of her parents for today. And I'm like, crap.
More cookies.
I gotta get out of bed. But I gotta make the cookies now. So now it's all on me.
That's an adult responsibility.
It is, but I think instead of cookies, I think I'm just gonna check out some indie games because I've been looking at these games all week and I have so many questions about so many of these games.
Hell yeah. We had you on for 6, right? I like your 6 t-shirt.
Thank you. Just didn't want to, just casually bring that up there.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no major thing. Just happened to, just casually show up there.
Yeah. A lot of these, some of the games you saw at 6 came from this game jam, just a lot more polished than they were. I don't know if you remember The Leveled. That was a game that had like the things that came from this jam, but like a year prior.
Nice. Okay.
Maybe 2 years prior. I don't know how long The Leveled was in development for.
I've done some research. So since kind of starting to do some of these hosting gigs, I did some other research on some other games, and I found out that there have been a couple of other games that are indie games that I have loved that came out of or were connected to the Seattle Indies program. So I'm really looking forward now to following these games because some of those games ended up being like my number one, like when I need to relax and chill. And I'm just gonna drop one name for that. Slay the Spire. Is my number one when I just need to relax and chill. That is the game that I go to. And to find out later on that it was connected to this, I was like, wait, I guess I want to be involved with all of this now. This is fantastic.
Nice. We have can you see the screen at all, Alchemist? We have on the Twitch stream, if nothing else.
I have the Twitch stream open as well. And then I have your beautiful face and that beard, which is making me so jealous.
It's so glorious.
Such a beautiful beard. I sat down at my camera initially and I was like, this beard is not ready for camera. We're just going to take care of that right quick.
So on the Twitch stream, this is a game that Kieran and I made for 2 weeks.
Cryptozootography.
That's right. Yeah.
Cryptozootography.
It's a mouthful.
It is. But I know cryptids. I know, we're looking for Loch Ness. We're looking for Bigfoot. We're looking for those types of things. And there are questions in my mind for this game.
Yeah,
so
fire.
Are there going to be, I know that there are some cryptids because you're in the Pacific Northwest. That's where this game is set, correct?
Yes.
So there are some that are going to be included because they're a part of the area. Are there going to be plans to add additional cryptids? Maybe some cryptids from other countries?
What's your wish list cryptid?
My wish list cryptid would probably be a tie between a chupacabra and a jackalope.
Ooh.
Oh man, I think both of those would be fun. Wolpertinger's kind of like the jackalope, right? What was the name that we ended up choosing?
Vampadinger.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because that's Wolpertinger-esque. Wolpertingers are just like jackalopes, but from German folklore. Okay. But yeah, I love the Wolpertinger. They're on the screen there on the left there. Look how adorable they are.
Yeah.
Everything in this game's adorable though. Like when you say I love how adorable this one is, I'm sure that it's not gonna get any less adorable.
Yeah.
What went into the choice for art style? What made you choose this particular art style as opposed to any other art style you did?
Right. So I think what helped us here is that we had a really talented artist on our team named Milo. He was the one that came up with all the character designs. And he already was sort of channeling the theme of the jam was cute. What was it? Ferociously cute?
Cute.
Yeah. So we wanted to balance these aspects of cute and terrifying. And so Milo's art already really channeled that cute. We just needed to make it a little more terrifying at night. And that's why we have that day and night cycle that changes between those two.
It's night right now.
Yeah, so we really leaned a little bit more towards the Pokemon aspects to really channel that cute aspect. So we really and we wanted to leaned a little bit more towards the Pokemon aspects really to really channel that cute aspect. So when you get them on your side, you're using them, and it's something that you really want to collect.
Gotcha. I think it's adorable that the whole concept is trying to get photos of these chupacabras I mean, sorry, not chupacabra. My brain is super. My brain is
I know
photos
what
of these
you want.
cryptids. But it's one of those things. It's like you're making them adorable. You're trying to balance the adorable and the ferocious. But it's such a like. I just love the art style of this game and how it looks, because it's one of those things that I can definitely see. Like, oh, this is really cute. And then the moon rises, and now I'm like, oh no.
I don't know if you
gotta
can hear the audio at all. Our audio designer did a lot of the music and really set the vibe for this kind of weird. Because like it's not like it's horrible. It's just kind of like it's just kind of like otherworldly. It's weird. So there are parts of it that are frightening, especially when it's nighttime. But it's more of just like in their nature and not let it out. Like kind of malicious, ghostly spider, anything like that.
Completely understand. What games did you take inspiration from? Because this kind of, just looking at the style of it, reminds me of some classic kind of like strategy games like Final Fantasy Tactics and things like that. So, but I would like to ask you, what did you draw your inspiration from?
Kira and I are both longtime fans of Final Fantasy Tactics.
For sure.
Yeah, and this is one of the big reasons we wanted to do like an elevated map, Final Fantasy Tactics style. I make strategy games, that's all I do. And this is one of my first times where I try to do like a Final Fantasy Tactics like raised map with like different elevations and stuff to kind of hike up the mountain.
Gotcha.
I'm also a big fan of Fire Emblem. I love a good top-down Fire Emblem. And then also most recently Into the Breach. So a lot of my big influences has been another Seattle local indie game. This in particular though was much more Final Fantasy Tactics, and I'm glad you kind of keyed into that influence.
So I know, so we're kind of segueing just a little bit off of the game itself. I know that this game, like there are a lot of game jams that could happen this year, and with everyone kind of being inside, it was like, what challenges did that bring without, with being kind of separated from what could be the rest of your team?
Right. I can speak to that if you don't mind, Kieran.
Yeah, go for it.
I've done many game jams. I love these game jams, but these online game jams continue to be difficult just for finding teams. Like that's always been the hardest problem. Even in the physical jam, it's hard to find a team. But we were all lucky to kind of all rally around the same idea. And we just had one big Discord room that we just hung in for 2 weeks. A lot of us had, day jobs and stuff throughout the entirety of the game jam. And then just in the evenings, we'd all kind of log in and share our progress for the day.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think obviously we would have enjoyed working in person, like next to each other, and have that collaborative, in-person experience. But at the same time, having that Discord gave us a place where not only could we communicate, but we could also post our progress. There was like a really visibly tangible concept and idea of the progress of the game and its development. So it was really nice to be able to share assets through that as well.
Oh yeah.
Definitely see how much easier that makes that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. I apologize.
I'm just +1. I'm just yeah.
So I have to ask now, are there going to be plans to continue development of this game? Like, what is the end goal of this game ultimately for you guys?
Yeah, Andrew, do you want to take that one, or you want me to talk about it?
Please take it, Kieran.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed the idea. I think a collection game like this, and especially like you just brought up, you want other cryptids in there, right? Like the chupacabra and other really great ones. So I think obviously there are ways that we could expand it, and I think it's a fun game. I think it's got legs, the idea, and I think we could really build on it. Whether or not we're actually going to move forward with it is still kind of up in the air, but I think it's a really fun idea, and I'd love to expand it more. Bring it into more regions, add more cryptids, really juice the mechanics and see what else we can do with it. I think there's a lot of potential there.
It just has a cursed content problem. Like we
to
want to have all these cryptids. I want the Loch Ness Monster more than anybody, but each one takes so long. I don't know if we have time for Kieran to discuss the art pipeline to create each of these different designs and to animate them and to make the night modes for everything.
Yeah, I one of the things I sort of put my foot down on, and Andrew's probably cursing me for it, is I really wanted to breathe life into the characters, and I wanted them to be animated, if nothing else, just an idle cycle, just to make them feel alive. And I really wanted to do frame by frame hand drawn animation, which is what you see here. There's not hating on those games that do this. I understand why they do it, but I feel like the sort of paper puppet doll, like spline approach to animation feels much it feels like it's lacking something in terms of life, you know. And I wanted to do something that felt a little bit more natural. We could play with like exaggeration a little bit, and so that's why I wanted to take this hand-drawn approach. But it does take a lot of time, as Andrew pointed out.
It was your time though, Kieran. So
That's
Milo
true.
did all the character designs, and then Kieran did all the idle animations for all our cryptids and for our cryptozootographer. And then also at night, if you can see, there's like a little like red rim light on all the monsters. We re-palette swapped each of our units from the night mode, so we can make a more terrifying form. We had to give them attack animations to give them an attack pose, had to give them a hurt pose. Like we had a whole Trello board of us being like, who has the Wolpertinger's her animation? I lost that somewhere in the Discord.
But it just goes to illustrate how well you guys all worked together on this, because to have something where you don't have the physical ability to just walk over to someone's desk and go, hey, I need this thing, like to have to coordinate that across over online and to still generate, because this, like looking at this game, the idle animations are beautiful, which I'm one of those types of gamers that those are the types of things that I notice. It's those little things, like when you watch someone's idle animation and you see them like pull one of those moves, and it's like, and you're like a game that was really good with that was like Resident Evil 2 remake. Like there'd be moments where your character would sit there and then they would kind of look over their shoulder, and you knew that they felt afraid. But looking at your protagonist in this, it almost seems like they're excited to be here. What was the balance of kind of making that tone kind of fit the ferociously cute, but also kind of figuring out how your main character was going to fit in that world?
Yeah, I think we wanted to show that there was a threat from the cryptids, but we didn't want to make it like too scary or too life-threatening, or kind of take that Pokemon approach where it's like, you know, these things don't really die; they just sort of get knocked unconscious, right? So it's like taking a little bit of that sharp edge off of it. So yeah, definitely. Like I think it takes a fair amount of confidence and a fair amount of excitement to like want to go hunt these cryptids down and take pictures of them. So I think we wanted to show that aspect in the character and also make it so that it was a little bit more fun and less of a life-threatening thing.
Yeah. That was,
So,
I think that was, oh, please.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just good. +1.
Oh no, go ahead. I want to hear that.
We had the theme of frighteningly cute, and I was never sure which way to lean more, and so we were constantly like, bouncing back and forth. So it was a hard balance to hit.
Yeah, for sure.
I think our video has ended, so I think that's the extent of our 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts?
On my side, I really want to know what would be next for you guys after this. Like, you guys have done this thing, but now what will be next for you guys? More
game jams. I don't know if it'll be Cryptozootography or something different, but we want to make more tactics games, and we would love to make more monster collection games. So yeah, follow us on Twitter. We have them all in the video. And I'll post them in Twitch chat as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for this game. Chat, make sure if you get a chance to check out Cryptozootography. Ha! I nailed it.
You did it.
So, and we'll be right back with our next game on the list. So catch you guys in a moment. Why, hello.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
Good. Yeah.
So, chat, I want to let you guys know that the first person that I saw when I joined this Zoom call was Jeremiah.
Yes.
And he welcomed me into the chat. He helped me make fun of my beard because I already had all sorts of jokes about my beard.
I didn't make fun of your beard.
You made me feel better about my beard. I made fun of it. You went, no, it actually looks good. Your stream looks good. Your camera looks great. I had the weird camera thing where it kept zooming in and out. And Jeremiah was just completely fantastic about making me feel better about that. So with that being said, I have to ask you to now make me feel more knowledgeable about SheepCreep.
Yeah, it's a fun game. We had a lot of fun working on it. And we're continuing to work on it too. So yeah, I don't know if someone's sharing their stream for the game.
I'm currently looking on the screen and I don't see the game up yet, But while we're waiting for that to get set up, like I know that the theme for this was frighteningly cute.
Yes.
So when kind of looking at that as a theme, was it easy to figure out how to balance that? Did you lean on more to one side than the other? How did you approach that process?
Yeah, we heard the theme frighteningly cute, and we immediately thought like a horror game. We thought that could be like a really fun thing to embark on, and we've typically done like 2D games, and we've wanted to venture into kind of 3D first-person games, so it seemed like a pretty good fit. So the idea just kind of like developed from there.
Okay. Now we have some other people that are joining us, but I don't see like I wanted to kind of have them have a chance to introduce themselves and introduce what their contribution to the game was. So for all of our other guests that have joined us, by all means, please let me know how you're doing and what you contributed to SheepCreep.
All right. I'll start off. I'm Kyle Beck, and I was one of the programmers. Mostly did like player controller stuff and some animation stuff.
Awesome. Next.
Hi, my name is Kyle. I worked on arranging Jeremiah's amazing assets in Unity and just kind of general Unity upkeep stuff, like adjusting parameters and the lighting and stuff.
Keeper of the physics engine is always an important person in any game, no matter what. So thank you for that, Kyle. We're going to save Jeremiah for last because I've started to get an idea of what his part was. So I want to see if I'm right.
I'm Jacob, and I'm one of the developers, programmers, I should say. My main role probably was figuring out all the net code, like how it all worked. And yeah, game flow. I guess game flow. I did a lot of that.
Gotcha. For those of you in chat who don't know, your online games and how the game can know where you are in relation to your other opponents or teammates is all based on netcode. Fighting games are really important about netcode. Good netcode in a fighting game makes it spectacular to play online. Bad netcode in a fighting game makes it challenging to play. So the fact that Jacob was that was one of the things he focused on is very important and very difficult to kind of manage. And now, last but most certainly not least, Jeremiah, would you like to add your contribution?
So I did all of the assets and a few animations. I didn't implement the animations, but I animated like the sheep. And yeah, I designed the level. I did the character designs, all except the sheep was designed by a friend, Cosmo.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So going off of it being a lot of fun, this was spread out over what 2.5 weeks, right? Somewhere around there.
Around there, yeah.
Usually game jams, as far as I understand, are usually like 48 hours. So how was it working in an online game jam with that much extra time as opposed to one where it would happen over a week?
It was nice. I really enjoyed the extra time, but at the same time, it was a little bit more stressful because you had to manage your time, I think, a little bit more wisely. There's definitely some challenges that you don't really think you're going to have to face until you actually, are in the situation. So there definitely was like a giant, all-nighter push at the very end there because there was a lot of stuff we still had to implement that wasn't quite polished as we wanted it to be. But all in all, it was a really great experience. I really enjoyed like having that extra room to be creative.
Okay. So asking the rest of the team here, Kyle B, Kyle L, and Jacob, what was your favorite part about the slow online format? And then what was your least favorite part? And we'll go in like, instead of just waiting for you guys to kind of do this individually. Jacob, I'd like to know what your take on that was.
Yeah, I think we were able to do a lot more than we could accomplish in the 2-day game jam. So like all the netcode stuff, we were more willing to take on bigger challenges. So it was we're very proud of how far we got. I think my least favorite part is you feel like you have more time. So it's very easy to procrastinate. So we had at least 2 all-nighters at the end there. It was still just as much crunch, and we had given ourselves a loftier goal because we thought we would have the time for it, and then it all came down to the end. So it did still end up being a crunch, but it was super fun. I don't know, the whole thing was fun.
Gotcha. Kyle L, what do you echo that sentiment that Jacob said? Like, did you feel the sword of Damocles in terms of time sitting over your head, or was there a different thing for you?
For me, mainly, the thing I really liked about the this kind of format is that we had more time to do kind of a bigger game. A lot of times we have like we had to cut a lot of ideas right before the finish line because there's not a whole lot of time. This time we could kind of take our time and add all the things we wanted to add, which I really enjoyed. The thing I liked the least about it, though, is just kind of missing that person-to-person energy. You know, when you're at a game jam in person, I really enjoy that kind of like everyone hyping each other up.
Definitely understand that. There's a lot of similarities in streaming and hosting as well, where it's a lot more fun to host in person because then you can kind of get more energy and more flow kind of going with that. So Beck, I really want to know now, what was your favorite part of this, and what part was your maybe not so much least favorite, but what part were you less enthusiastic about?
On the development side, the best part for us, I think, was we had time kind of during the first week to set up our networking environment and get a basic lobby system set up, so that in the second week we could kind of just crunch on the gameplay features and the stuff we were more familiar with. So similar to what they were saying. My least favorite thing, it was difficult. The Sunday at noon deadline caught us off guard a little bit. I think on Friday or Saturday was when I looked at that. But other than that, I had a great time and it was a great experience.
Okay, so it looks like we're sitting in the lobby on the Twitch stream now. So it looks like we're actually going to be seeing gameplay of this.
Yes.
Am I right? No pressure or anything, but I'm kind of looking
Hopefully.
forward to seeing this. So
Yeah.
while we're waiting to kind of get that set up, though, so I know there are a lot of game jams this year. What made this particular one stand out? Like, what was the thing that attracted you to do the slow jam game jam as opposed to any of the others?
You want me to take this?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, so I met at least Jeremiah and Jacob through the Global Game Jam in 2017, I think. And we've been meeting up and coming back every single year. So this was kind of our replacement for that this year. Yeah, that was it for me.
Jacob, I'm gonna switch over to you since Beck kind of directly kind of called out that to you. What attracted you to the slow jam this year as opposed to any other game jams you could have done? You might be in the background working on getting this up and running. So I'm gonna
muted. Sorry.
there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. We love doing the game jam. I don't know. It's fun to take a break from the day-to-day work and do something fun that you're passionate about. And yeah, and the slow jam as compared to another game jam, I really like it because, like I said earlier, you can take on a bigger project.
Gotcha. Jeremiah, what about you? What was the thing about that attracted you to this jam?
It opened up a lot of opportunities to try things we've never tried before. I, for one, I'm not usually a voxel artist, so I like working with it, but I don't really have a lot of opportunities and like projects available to me to kind of do that in a meaningful way. So it was nice to be able to work with that again and to like have that time allowed to me where I actually had a reason to like get to know the programs and figure things out. It was really nice to actually be able to create a online multiplayer game, because that's something we've kind of always dreamed about, but we've never really had the time to kind of try anything like that out. So yeah, it's a really good growing experience, I find, because when you do a lot of smaller game jams, you kind of try to stick to the stuff you know just because of time constraints. But we were able to branch out a little bit more.
Gotcha. Okay. So on that note, I would like to know, what was the, like, do you plan on continuing development on your game from here? Like, do you guys plan on like doing more with it?
Yeah, we do. We've been meeting at least once a week right now, and we have already put up a few small updates just to kind of polish the game further. So right now we're focused on fixing bugs and kind of polishing what's already there. And then moving forward, we're going to be implementing some new features that we've workshopped, along with any community suggestions that we think are worthwhile.
Okay. Any of you other folks have anything you kind of want to add to that? Kyle, when I asked the previous question, I kind of went from Beck to Jacob. So I'd like to hear your opinion on this one.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, is there any, like, if you could continue this game, like, what would be the thing you would look most forward to in continuing it? Like, if you could continue the development of it.
I think we're going to try to continue development, which I think is fantastic. I think we have a really fun game here, and honestly, just adding more features and giving the player more things to do, especially on the survivor side, I think would be a lot of fun.
So we have footage up, and I have to tell you, I do not feel like I was prepared to see these adorable Lego sheep running around. Why was I not informed there were going to be super cute Lego sheep? Like, I know that we said frighteningly cute. I guess stepping on a Lego in the middle of the night is frightening. And those Legos being brought into corporeal form and chasing me through corridors would be frightening and cute. So what inspired you guys to make SheepCreep? What was the thing that inspired you or drew you to this idea?
I can answer this one. It's kind of funny. So while we were in development, we kept referring to the critter, like the sheep, as either sheep, a bunny, or an egg. Like, all throughout the code, it's just referenced all three ways. We actually had my friend Cosmo do the critter, the sheep. And while I was explaining it to him, I didn't use the word sheep or bunny or anything like that. But he still ended up making a sheep bunny. So I'm not sure what his motivation for that was, but it was pretty humorous.
So how many players can be in this game simultaneously? Like is there, like, what was the, like, perfect world game is completely polished and completely developed. You have all the time in the world. How many players will we be looking at? I guess this is an asymmetrical style game. So how would this break down?
I'll go ahead and answer that because I just died. So, so right now everything's up in the air. We set how many the player to monster ratio manually each time we run the lobby. And there's still a bunch of balance issues. Obviously, we haven't worked out. So generally, we found anything more than one monster sheep is too much. But as soon as you have more than 3 or 4 players, it's too many players. So that's kind of the big question right now, is which features can we add to help sort of remedy that situation?
Yeah.
Has anybody explained the actual game yet and what's going on here?
No one has, and I feel like that was a great segue for you to explain, because I think I'm getting an idea of it, but I don't want to guess and be incorrect.
Okay, mechanically, it's similar to something like Dead by Daylight, if you're familiar with that game.
I am.
Except it's sort of inverted. So the players are these, right now we're calling them interplanetary poachers, after these rare green-eyed sheep. So there's 3 types of sheep inside of this like temple Jeremiah and Kyle built. There's the blue-eyed ones, which are the regular common ones that we're not interested in. There's green-eyed ones, which are supposed to run up and you press F on them, and then they'll follow you back to a safe zone outside. That's how you complete the level.
As a player.
Right, exactly. And then there's the red-eyed sheep that looks exactly the same as the rest of the sheep and moves at the same speed, but it's controlled by a player. And it's sort of supposed to blend in with the herd. And you can see the person who's playing right now has a right click where they can get sort of a top-down view of what's going on the map. And you're supposed to plan it so that you can down all of the players in order to protect the sheep in the temple, and then you win the level as a monster.
Okay. So there's a little bit of like, I want to blend in with the rest of the sheep. I want to follow, along with what they're doing, which kind of lends to a question I was going to ask, which is, you have this type of game where you have to like blend in with what other AIs are doing. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how more like if like as this kind of becomes more of a thing, looking at some of the techniques and strategies that people come up with, because I think that this game lends itself very well to strategies from like I'm just gonna go along with what the other sheep are doing to like aggressively like I'm just gonna explore these poachers and take them out as quickly as I can.
Yeah,
So
we definitely have both personalities. We've seen both.
this looks like this is going to be awesome. Where can people find out more about SheepCreep and more about what you guys are doing next?
We actually have a really cool Discord server set up now that people can join. I put that in the chat for people if they want to join. Yeah, we've been posting weekly updates so far. Even after the jam, I've been posting screenshots of upcoming artwork and stuff being implemented into the game. And yeah, it's just a really good place to hang out with people. We've been posting a ton of cat pictures in there. That's a huge section of the Discord right now. But yeah, if people want to join, if they want to see the game develop, if they want to add their suggestions or play with other friends, it's a good place to be.
Gotcha. All right. So it looks like the URLs are being filtered out. So I'm going to have them post the link to their Discord in the chat that we have for the broadcast on this side, and I'll make sure that it gets posted up. But next up, guys, we have another game that kind of lends itself to playing around with friends, and that's going to be Pushy Shovey Fun Time with Friends. So we'll be right back with Pushy Shovey Fun Time with Friends, guys.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Fantastic. How are you? I guess I'm the video one. Okay.
I am doing fantastically right now. I'm really looking forward to telling people about you guys' game. I'm looking forward to when we're fully live and I can talk about it. But one thing I do want to let people know is I'm gonna start suggesting a Zoom meeting bingo card for these types of broadcasts, so that when we go through as chat's watching, they can go, "Yep, that's a thing. Yep, that's a thing." And the one that I always try to not make sure comes from me is the one time I forget to put my phone on silent. Is in the middle of a question, very important, really wanted to know the answer. Suddenly I heard my phone go off. I'm really happy that it wasn't one of the embarrassing ringtones it could have been. Last thing I wanted was to rickroll the entire chat with "never going to give you up," but I digress. Yep, ready to go.
We're having some technical difficulties. So Tim, I sent you the link. I don't know if this is going to work or not. The OBS stuff is a little confusing.
Are we missing John? Or sorry, are we missing Nick? Our composer. Nick, what is his name?
Nick Leaf.
Yeah.
He was in the green room. Did he get like
Yeah.
not passed over?
Lost to the corners of time and space. I've been reading way too much Lovecraft lately. I'm sorry. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's not lost to the corners of time and space. But if he is, can you have him bring back a autograph from Cthulhu? Just for a friend. 100% for a friend. All right. So for all of you guys in chat that are joining us, would like to welcome you. I would like to welcome our new guest. We have some new friends to join us. And when push comes to shove, we should start with the first person on camera. So, Patrice, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself to the lovely folks at home.
Absolutely. My name is Patrice Metcalf-Lenham, an indie dev here in Seattle, and one of the creators, and I'm currently being pushed off my own game right now, of Pushy, Shovey, Funtime with Friends, TM. And I have a fantastic team with me on audio that like to introduce themselves. Steve, are you still with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve. I do tech art and graphics and rendering. I made the thing animate with math only and no animations. What? That's me.
So, can you see the game screen?
I can see the game screen.
Okay.
I'm forgive me for becoming temporarily distracted because I was like, but ooh, so is that what it's like, okay, we'll get to that in a moment. So moving to the next person that has been joining us.
Sure. I'm Colin, and I did all of the audio things that aren't music, including the implementation and like building out of the audio systems, and put together a bunch of like random temp UI stuff early on. Kind of just filled in with what needed happening, what needed doing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
I can go next.
Yeah.
Geez. Cool. Hey everybody, I'm John, and I did not know that we had started playing until about halfway through. I just need to be really clear about that.
Yeah,
as you can see, I'm an 8. As 100% result. It's actually not fair, so I just would like everyone to disregard the score.
I just lost all my points. Of course it's not fair. God damn it.
Yeah, I won.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, hey, I'm John. I help Patrice with networking, and I also did a good amount of the HUD, and then I tried to help with stuff in general.
All right.
I also want to shout out that we had another technical artist who wasn't able to. He had some work stuff come up. Chris, who put together the terrain and did some work on the technical art and implementation on that one. Just want to shout out him as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the idea for this game actually came from playtesting someone else's game on a Seattle Indies indie support group call, which we have every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And I think that's really where all of us met for the most part. So this is definitely a Seattle Indies project.
So one thing I would like to ask definitely about this one, I've been asking the other groups about, like, you know, how it was working on an online jam as opposed to, like, you know, this one, which is over 2.5 weeks. But one thing that kind of popped up, and then someone in the chat echoed it. How many hours would you say you actually got to spend on working on this game? Usually game jams are 48 hours, and I'm pretty sure that you don't spend the entire 48 hours working on the game. But in the case of this, you had 2.5 weeks. How many hours would you say you guys actually put into Pushy, Shovey, Funtime with Friends TM?
That's a tricky one to answer. I feel like maybe for me personally, on average, a few hours a day.
Okay.
But like some days a lot like more, and some days like there were a couple days where I didn't get anything done. I don't know what the rest of the team would say.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different for everybody. So for me, I work, right? So doing the game jam was something that I had to do sort of, on the side after work. So I think I was probably putting in like, 2 or 3 hours most nights. Certainly not every night for about, 2 weeks or so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think my experience was a little bit different than everyone else's because I actually joined like a week in as a composer for the project. It was kind of random, just through the Discord group. All these people were looking for a composer, but I was working on it probably for like 5 days straight, just trying to like, just smash out all these songs, kind of. But so maybe a little different for me.
I was and still am like looking for a job at the time. So for most of the time, I was able to treat this kind of like a day job, which was really cool. It's like a lot less stressful than the normal like sort of sprint vibe that game jams have. I just kind of like gave as much time to it as I could every day. And then like, some looking for a job stuff. Like I wasn't able to do that every day, but I don't know. I'd say like 2/3 of the day I was able to give most of my time to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was in a similar boat. Maybe not quite as heavily the first week, and then kind of ramped up a lot more towards the end of the second week in terms of the amount of time that I was putting in. I think that just kind of goes with audio though, because it's one of the last things in the pipeline.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the audio is actually also dependent on the activity and the action going on, which is, I think, super cool. And I'm not the one to talk about that. That would be a Colin and Nick talk about thing.
Okay. You want to start, Colin?
Sure. So yeah, there are kind of two things in that vein that are happening. I'll save the music one to you.
Nice,
but in the sound effects, a lot of, because the game's so physics heavy, I had to build out like what's known as a jerk reactive system. It's the first derivative of the acceleration, and that's what's being used to trigger kind of the player impact sounds. What that does is it basically means that when you get launched, there's like an immediate kind of like essentially like a sudden impulse, and that's what we're measuring for. And so when that goes off, the higher that number, kind of the more extreme like the little pot clanking noises and stuff will be. And I'm doing that in a couple places, but primarily with the character. Nick and I also work together to build out the game music to be kind of like multi-layered. And so we're doing some stuff where like the more people are on the hill, the more layers will come in. I don't know if you want to talk more about that, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for that song, we eventually set on 90 seconds to be the actual length. So the song itself is pretty linear. There's nothing that's going to like,
no.
Huh?
Sorry.
You got pushed.
I'm like, it was 90. No, it's 90 seconds. No, that's right.
I've been following the people who are talking and just pushing them off while they're busy.
Oh, very good.
Jerk. A little jerk face.
I'm going to seem really put together, hopefully, because I'm not actually playing. So I'm just, or maybe I'll pretend I'm playing. It's like, wow, he's really good at like talking. And no, or anyway, if I stumble, I am playing. Anyway, yeah, the main song is like, yeah, I'll just go with it. Anyway, so we kind of set on 90 seconds, and so the song is linear, and so I knew that like at the certain spots, like it should get a little bit more intense and all that. But we kind of wanted to make it for like wherever you are on the mountain, how many people are actually on the mountain itself. You have like different melodies come in, or different instrumentation that comes in. So it's kind of neat to have that. But for everything else with the music, I think it was pretty straightforward. We kind of had when I came into the project, there was talk about Diddy Kong Racing, and I think John was a real proponent of that. And I love Diddy Kong Racing. Yeah. And I don't know, I was thinking,
Racing. Oh.
Yeah, did I say Donkey Kong Racing? I don't know what I said.
No,
yeah,
no, Diddy Kong.
Okay, good,
I'm so happy to have it mentioned.
Yeah, it is a great soundtrack. But yeah, and then they were kind of saying, spooky stuff. So I was kind of thinking of like Banjo-Kazooie, sort of like witches kind of vibe with that. So I used a lot of like, stand-up bass and real MIDI fake instruments,
Gotcha.
Totally what they're about. So yeah.
So have we gone over the rules of the game or the sort of objective?
Oh, well, I mean, it's pretty much King of the Hill a little bit. You get more points the higher up you are on the hill. You do have to be grounded to get the point. So when you get shot up in the air, it's kind of sucky because you're not on the high ground anymore, and you also there's a lot of airtime there. So and you have a chance of losing all of your points if you fall off the world. So it's definitely a game where it's short and quick to play, and like at any point in time, the person who's first could immediately be last, just with the right push, the right shove. It's basic moving around controls. You can jump as well. And there's this force field that you can expend when you click your mouse. And what most people have figured out is that you can kind of launch people off into the air if you get right underneath them with just the right angle. So it's
like that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite little pieces of like emergent gameplay that came from play testing was the camera does exactly what you want when you're grounded, but once you get launched in the air, it does not show you where the ground is under you, and so it makes it way more dangerous to get launched, which I think is really fun, because then you can use like the little bubble trail that Steve made, which is just gorgeous, and like you just kind of have to guess where the ground is under you, and I just think that is the best because it makes it just makes getting launched so much more dangerous. And you have this like panic up in the air where you're like trying to guess like which direction you need to push yourself in. And I personally am always wrong. So I lose all my points.
I thought that was like as somebody who wasn't really involved with like the game design or anything, like at playing it, I was, sometimes I was like, I want to, like a lot of games you'll be able to move the camera with your mouse, and definitely a distinct design choice to not have that happen, where your camera is almost like sluggish with you, like your movement is really sluggish, so your camera is sluggish, and then it looks in the air when you're flying around like a golf, broadcast or something, but like.
So I think you can tell that we had a lot of fun with this.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you guys had an absolute blast. Was this your first game jam that you guys have all worked on together, or have you worked on multiple ones before this?
I think Colin and Steve have worked together before, right?
Yeah, Colin and I have done some smaller projects together, but this is the first time that I'd worked with pretty much anybody else on the team. And I was, totally blown away. Like everybody on the team is super skilled, super competent. Especially again, shouting out Patrice and John for just like doing the networking and getting that working. That was a mountain that they climbed, and kind of like the game, they did it really well.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, John had done a little bit of networking stuff before, but not with the specific system that we used. Yes. So there's a little bit of a learning curve getting up to speed with that. And then for me, I don't normally use Unity, so that was also a learning curve right there.
So piggybacking off of that, what's next for you guys? Like, are you guys going to work on other things together after this? Or are you guys going to push more of Pushy, Shovey, Funtime with Friends trademark kind of out there? Are you going to try and add more to it? Like, what's next for you guys?
One of my favorite things about the game is that nobody can pronounce the name right. Like they can't ever get through the whole thing correctly, which is
first time through, I nailed it. I was very happy about that. And then I knew that was I had peaked. That was the top of the mountain.
I definitely prefer when people don't get it right because it's always unique,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think speaking for me at least, this is, game jams are just sort of fun places to sort of, experiment. They're safe places to fail if you try an idea that doesn't work out, because kind of no matter what, the scale is small enough, and the amount of time investment is small enough that even if something goes south, it usually breaks in a funny and silly way. So I think speaking for me, this is a fun experiment. I don't think I'm going to continue doing anything with it, but I'll take some learnings from it for sure.
Gotcha. I need you to know that I can tell when Patrice is doing well, and I can tell to the millisecond when she gets yeeted into the sky, because her facial expressions are not using their indoor voice at all, and I'm loving it. I'm living for it because you can see her like
do not have an indoor voice.
As a person who also has that concept, I definitely understand. So where can people find you guys? Where can people find out more information about Pushy Shovey Funtime with Friends? Nailed it.
TM.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
missed it.
I was doing so well.
You too can have a Pushy fun time with friends. I think we
Shovey
can drop a
fun.
link in the Twitch chat. Do you have that available or?
I
but-
personally do not have it, but I'm looking. If you guys put it into our broadcast chat, I can copy it over to the Twitch chat to
perfect.
make sure that
Yeah.
it's there.
We can do that. And we have
Patrice, what if I don't have friends?
Oh my gosh. Well,
Then I can't play this game.
Load up multiple.
Find other
instances
games,
and
dude.
play it with yourself.
pretty much. Yeah. You can't technically play a single player. You will be both the pushiest, shoviest, and the loser, though.
Well,
Still
let
have
it
Pushy
play
Funtime with no
3
one.
instances of the game and then just play against yourself.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
you can
that's
do
perfect.
that. You can do that.
I will.
There are Windows, Mac, and Linux builds available on that game link there. And technically, the UI might break a little bit, but you can play with up to 20 people. And after that, we are off the free plan for the networking solution we're using. So good luck with that. But you know, if things really pop off, we could upgrade that maybe.
Shout out to Photon for having such an awesome free tier in the first
Yeah.
place. Photon is an
Absolutely.
awesome networking solution. Hard recommend.
Absolutely.
I
And also,
feel like
you can find all of our contact links on the itch page that the game is posted on.
Absolutely. Some fantastic portfolios and games that everyone on the team has created.
Well, gonna let you guys know that it seems like chat is not only loving the music, loving the gameplay, but they're also loving the name. So you guys might want to also register this one because it sounds like someone's going to try and trademark it as we speak.
No,
It's already trademarked.
It's already
trademarked.
Push it
Yeah.
Sorry. Friends
You
TM.
pause, right?
Too late.
Sorry, Bean. Beats to it. Oh, no. Bean is going to trademark Pushy Shovey Funtime with Strangers, which I'm guessing could be a sequel. Just throwing it out there. But chat, we're going to be right back with Which right after this. And thank you again to the Pushy Shovey Funtime with Friends trademark team for showing us this awesome game.
Thank you so much. That was perfect.
Yeah,
Did I
thank
do
you
the
so
dismount?
much, Kevin.
All right.
Thank
Be right
you.
back, guys, with Which. Stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you. That
guys.
was delightful,
that was
Kevin.
great. Thank
I'm
you.
happy you enjoyed it. I'm happy I started off nailing the name. I nailed the dismount. Everything else in the middle didn't happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll
Just
only
like
remember
those
the
2 times
beginning
I
and
was
the
muted.
Oh. What? Me?
We're muted,
muted?
so they can't hear us. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, it was so good.
It
But
was so good.
It's
Go back to
fine.
it,
There are
Lil.
some there are some questions that we can definitely answer twice. So
Okay.
Lil,
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
What's that question, Kevin?
Peanut butter or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Sparkling or still water?
Still water. Sparkling's overrated.
What? Which wizard is gonna kill me today?
Well, that depends entirely on whether or not you are capable of staying alive and whether or not you're able to suss out that murderer first, right? Isn't it?
No.
So I'm gonna die.
I mean, you could, or you could also be completely safe. Again, this is a social game. It's very much about the kind of friendships you make, the enemies you also have along the way. It's all completely on the table. And I will say that just to recap, in case this also wasn't heard, that Among Us was a big inspiration for all of us. We loved playing that game, each and every one of us individually. We actually never played a social deduction game together until we made Witch Wizards. And we all got to bring a lot of the things that we did like about Among Us and things that we wanted to see in a game, in a social deduction game like that, and bring it all together into something like Witch Wizards. Also, I know that Brad, Saray, and I are also very, very much into D&D, so we were just like, let's make it witches and wizards and stuff, and have a dragon. It'll be great. And there is a dungeon and a dragon in this game. The dragon is named Nemo. Oh yeah, right? Isn't he cute? And you get to pet them, and just letting everybody know this is a prime murder spot.
I wonder why.
Yeah,
was that designed to be that adorable so that people would stop and stare and then get Avada Kedavra? I'm just curious.
I'm so glad you're curious, because that is actually based on Saraya's beloved dog Isun, who is the cutest little snuggler. All he wants to do is just sleep and nap and cuddle with you. And I based Nemo's design and pose all off when I've seen him sleeping and this curled up little ball of fluff. So yay, I'm glad.
I'm personally so proud of my dog for enabling murders, but since he is the sweetest, nicest little boy, I'm sure he would give us all his most confused and sad look.
All right, and I found a body.
Oh, have we been playing this whole time and I just never knew?
Yes.
Oh my god!
That means I'm doing my job well.
I was too busy talking. I'm so sorry. All right, so I don't have a say. Y'all go for it.
Okay, so I found the body in Umbral.
So while that question is going out, I do have other questions, because you said you worked on the on this game jam. Usually these are about 48 hours long, but this one was over the span of 2 weeks. First of all, how much actual time of that 2 weeks did you guys get to spend on this game? And what was it like doing this completely digitally? Like, I know normally you guys are in a place together.
Funnily enough, on my end anyway, my first jam was also only this year. It was a hype jam that was earlier, I think in the summer or spring. What is time? And that's actually the first time that I worked with Brad. And so that was already all digital, but that was a 48-hour intense, just like you don't know any other life outside of your desktop kind of deal. This time, it was still intense, but it felt very much more like a slow roll. Like it just felt more as though we were just, it was late nights, but also, during the days on the weekends when we could, and it actually accommodated each of our schedules really well. So on my end, I probably spent about I want to say 30 hours a week on it, maybe a little bit more than that. Brad, did you tabulate that, bud?
Yeah. So yeah, this is all. I'm starting the game too. Little heads up.
Okay, thanks.
But yeah, for with 2 weeks being a longer time, it's really good for being. What are the odds? It's really good for sort of like work-life balance and things like that. But going into it, there's a few game jam rules that I just never break. One of them is like super big scoped things. One of them is multiplayer, specifically online multiplayer, just adds so much extra time and extra everything to a game. And so I went in kind of wanting to break all of those rules. So luckily, I have a wonderful team, who is willing to humor me in this huge endeavor. And I ended up probably working a lot on it. I think the last few days I did work like a majority of my time awake on the game, but it was a labor of love. Absolutely. It was something that I wanted to do, and I didn't feel like stressed out, not nearly as stressed out as a 48-hour game jam. That's for
And
sure.
that is something I think from that a couple of previous game jams that I have done through the year, is that really one of the biggest things we wanted to be sure of with our team was like, if this is going to be a stressor in some way, whatever form that takes, we would much rather that you rested. We would much rather that you recharged and relaxed and came back to dev refreshed and ready to go. So we made sure that like we were checking in with one another, like, if you're too tired, stop now, it's fine. And getting used to Brad's way of doing things was a bit intense. I worried about him quite a bit, but Soraya was also very good at keeping us on task.
Get back here, Trent. Get back here.
So in these kind of games, because they are kind of meant to be played at a distance, did that actually help with development because you guys weren't able to be together? Because you were able to really test the game in such a way that you knew it was going to be how it was played? Because I imagine if you're playing a game like this in the same room, it becomes very difficult to not like react to things or like give like your facial expressions give things away. Was it easier to develop because you were able to work remotely, or because you were working remotely?
Ooh,
that's a really good question. On my end, yeah, because I tend to be a very expressive person, and people will immediately know when I'm lying or anything like that. So the remote aspect of this really did help, because we were already sort of play testing and developing in the in-game experience that we were hoping to create anyway. So I would say that it helped us.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry.
I found a body.
Did you really? Did you also make it though? Just curious. It's you.
This is we have because Soraya left. Okay, this is a bug. Known bug on stream. This is what it's all about. Game jam.
And if someone starts asking you if you made the body, you're probably in trouble.
Yeah.
But Trent or Soraya, do you have anything to add? Or Trent, would you want to talk about this wonderful music I've been hearing?
Sure. Yeah, and really quick, I want to echo what everyone else said. This was really fun to make. It was fun working with everybody. With the music, most of the music I ended up doing for the jam was, these jingles that happen during certain gameplay points, like when you discover a body, when you get killed, when you win, when you banish a player. And so it was really fun kind of coming up with these sort of musical snippets that kind of communicated the sort of emotional satisfaction of that gameplay moment, but being able to do that within several seconds. I think the one I'm most proud of is the discovered body one. I think because I have it end in such a way where it feels very non-definitive. It doesn't end with any kind of like drum hit or anything like that. It just ends with like this horn swell that kind of is like, what's going to happen, because that's what it leads into the vote, so I kind of try to think of the jingles in that way, where it's like, okay, like what is the emotional satisfaction going on at that moment, and complementing that.
Yeah, and Trent did a wonderful job. Just there's so much life in the music, and listen to this, what a banger! Hopefully the music is on stream. Just oh my goodness!
I don't know. I know that we had you feed your endless hunger for magical essence. You transform this castle into a force for evil. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
There's definitely some slappers in here. Some good orchestral bangers.
Yeah, it was really fun to get Trent's progress in the music as we were developing, because he was asking just like what about this is working for you, what isn't, what kind of themes are we going for? And honestly, I've never given input on music before, so it was really interesting to try and figure out the vocabulary for that. Trent, I'm so sorry. But yeah, and then wow, really? okay, cool, I guess. I didn't even have the chance to do anything. Sorry, again, I'm not sure if that was on stream, but apparently I am just doing stuff. Yeah, I just realized I said a lot of things that didn't really need to be said at all.
But yeah, I think that it was fun hearing everyone's input. The core, thing that's helpful isn't necessarily like, oh, like, can you do this specific thing? It's more like I think the core is like what feelings you want to communicate. And I think that everyone, like, their input helped with that. Because, like, I want this to feel more such and such. And I could kind of translate that into the music. And it was kind of fun doing the music too, because it's kind of different than what I usually do. Because I kind of write more like, I've done like a lot of Skyrim mods, for example. So like I'm kind of into that sort of like sweeping orchestral style, whereas this, it's kind of more humorous and mischievous, so that was part of the fun.
So that kind of leads me into the next thing that I really, really want to ask as Lil does a victory dance. But I'm curious about where everyone can find each of you. Like, where can we find more information about this game? Where can we find information on Trent's music? Like, where can we follow up on the information behind this? Because I'm definitely going to want to see if I can find some of Trent's music to maybe play on my phone while I'm working out, or maybe figure out how I'm going to plot to kill my friends. Like, where can we find you?
Trent's music is perfect for, when you're sitting alone in your evil lair and plotting the demise of others. I think we've all got Twitter handles up on our itch page, right?
Yes. Yeah. We also have them on our Discord. So the best place to go. Hopefully, we have some people in the chat. Hopefully, Andrew helps me out. The best place to go is the official Witch Wizard Discord. So you've been seeing some gameplay. You've been seeing like 4 or 5 people, which is all good. But 10 people with some friends on the voice call. It's super fun. It's not like a super public thing yet, but you can get the latest build on the Discord. Switch to 2 evil wizards if you want. It's a lot of fun. So definitely go to the Discord to check it out. For my Twitter, you can follow at Brad Kraling, BradKraeling. But that's also on our Discord, or will be whenever I get off this stream, because it's not there right now. And Lil and Trent, would you like to plug your stuff? And Soraya?
Sure. So my music can be found on my website, www.trentmoriarty.com. And I'm also on Spotify. I have a couple things on there anyway. And my Twitter handle is just Trent Moriarty.
Soraya?
I'm back.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Sorry I missed out on some of the midsection of this. I have a Twitter handle. It's at Cavney, CAV, like Vixen, NI. And I pretty much live there. So.
I did all the art for the game, which feels insane to me to say that I did all of that despite my desperate plea into the Game Jam Discord. Be like, can somebody please help with UI character stuff? No, okay. And Brad was very good at helping me pick up on the UI stuff that I wasn't able to get to, which is a future goal of ours, or at least of mine. I just want to be able to do that stuff. I am on Twitter at LalaLiChan, LalaLiChan. You can also see other artworks that I've made. I usually do stuff for D&D or just like D&D related things. Sorry, not trying to, I don't have a relationship with them, is what I'm saying.
Understand.
This was such an incredible amount of fun to play. Sorry, I feel like I wasn't able to talk about it quite as well because I was too busy concentrating on being the evil wizard that last round.
You were spectacular, and watching you go from like talking about the game to now they all must die.
I mean,
spectacular to watch.
If I am going to take over a castle for my own, you have to get focused. You just got to be in the game. You got to know.
Murder me in my disconnect, Lil.
I did not murder you in your disconnect. I didn't even know we were playing at that point because I was too busy having a wonderful conversation with Kevin.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm very happy to hear that. And
You're welcome.
again, chat, stay tuned because we have one more game after this, which I think after the evil wizards here, we're going to need a little divine intervention. So divine intervention will be coming up next after this.
Thank
so
you, chat.
Stay tuned.
Bye, chat.
Bye.
But we're talking about improv. We're talking about being able to think on your feet. But sometimes being witty and thinking on your feet is not enough. Sometimes you just need a little divine intervention. How was that? Was that good? Was that too heavy?
That was good. I like that one.
All right. So tell me about first of all, introduce yourselves. Let's start with that. Tell me who you are, what you do, how you brought your inspiration to divine intervention.
My name is David Hudson. I designed the battle system, did paper prototyping for it, and I wrote the dialogue for the game.
Okay.
And I'm Amorphous. I programmed the battle system and some of the audio engine.
All right. So what I'm trying to avoid the obvious question in the top of my head, which is what made you want to make divine intervention? I know the theme of this game jam was frighteningly cute. How did we land on divine intervention?
For me, I wasn't the one who came up with the idea. That was Sam Lee. He pitched the idea, and the idea was like, it started out as you go up, you have Tinder conversations with demons, and you recruit them and then use them to fight. And I heard this, and I was on a huge Shin Megami Tensei kick.
You say have Tinder conversations with demons?
Yeah, that changed during development.
Oh, I was gonna say you have so much of my attention now. But anyway, you were saying Shin Megami Tensei, which is the same vibe I got. I'm sorry, yes. I just had to ask about that.
I was on a huge Shin Megami Tensei kick, so I was like, this sounds awesome. I want to work on this. And he was like, we need writers for it. And I was like, yes. Good.
As for me, I didn't hear about the Seattle Indie Slow Jam until it was already more than half over. And so then I just went onto the Discord and was just like, does anybody else still need help with something? Because like all the teams had been formed and most of the games had already been mostly in progress. And Sam reached out to me and was just like, well, we could use some programming help. And I just ended up being programming help. By the time that I joined, the mechanics and the design of the game had mostly been set. And I was just like, well, this sounds cool enough to me. And here I am.
Have you worked on other game jams like this year? Have there been other work?
I did the Global Game Jam way at the beginning of the January. And actually worked together with Sam.
How did this? Oh, sorry.
He's the only person on the team that I have worked with in the past, so I sort of, I guess, even without knowing too much about what this game was about, we had worked together well in the past. It was pretty easy for me to get up running.
Getting comments from the audio. Wait, just throw that comment out there. But on the concept of all of those things, like what was your favorite part to work on this? Like, I know that normally game jams are kind of short and they're meant to be just a compact installation of like, hey, I'm gonna grab all these people together and put together this idea. I know that this will take longer and you're gonna approach that in different ways. How did the 2-week time really help you guys?
Well, for me, it gave me a lot of time to just sit down and I guess figure the battle. I was like, it's balancing the battle system was a big part of my work on the project, making sure that it wasn't too easy, but it also wasn't impossible. Mm-hmm. And before we could get program going, what this meant was sitting down for hours and just rolling dice against myself. And the 2 weeks really gave me time to do that. It also meant that I could cleanly say, like, okay, I've done my work on the battle prototyping. Now I can do a lot of work on just sitting down, figuring out these characters, and writing all the dialogue.
So
I think the game dropped out of the stream, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's because he's adjusting the audio on that one. So that would be why that drops out. But on the subject of you said you were rolling dice against yourself. I as a fellow D&D player, I have to ask, as you were rolling dice against yourself, do you have a set of cursed dice that you wanted to use when fights were a little harder? You have your favorite dice, your blessed dice that you use when things are supposed to be a little easier?
I don't have like, I guess I have a favorite set of dice. It's a set of like green and purple dice that I think they weren't the first ones I ever had, but like I lost my first pair and then I found my first pair again. Or not pair, but set. But I don't really value any set of dice over the others. I feel like I sort of use them equally. I like to really, even if there is a curse on certain sets of my dice, I like to keep that element of randomness.
I love all of my dice equally. The problem is all my dice don't love me equally. So if I were designing a game that I ended up having to use my dice to kind of help me prototype the battle system, knowing which dice are actively trying to kill me and knowing which dice are actively trying to save my life feels like it would play really well into the Angels and Demons kind of vibe that this game has. So I was wondering if that kind of played into it, like, okay, well, I want this fight to be a little harder, so I'm going to put on the hazmat mask, pull out the cursed dice, keep them far away from my good dice, and then roll. Yep, there's the one that I was expecting to see. Cool. There's that nat one. Cool. I fell on my face.
With a set of tongs.
Yeah, just like ready, like you have a Geiger counter next to him.
Yeah.
So I definitely am getting those kind of vibes from you. Amorphous, what do you feel like was your favorite contribution to Divine Intervention? Like, what was the part that you felt like, this is the part I'm proudest of?
Well, since we're talking about the battle system, that's the part that I'm going to have to talk about. I was originally brought on actually to do UI programming because Sam mentioned that was sort of the thing that was most top of mind. And then the very next day, it was just like, actually, we should probably get some more help coding the battle system. Because at that point, David had already designed the whole thing and presented a very nice Google Doc of how each system should interact. And there were quite a few complex interactions in there. There's, I think, a skill where every third turn you restore 1 hit point if one particular angel is helping you. And then another angel whose ability is anytime any other demon or angel heals you, you gain an extra tick to your taunt counter. And so then all these different systems had to work together to make sure that you could create your party of angels and demons and sort of have them all work together and add to the strategy of each battle. And so it was a lot of fun just trying to figure out how to make that architecture work and being able to puzzle that out. One of the biggest advantages that I had for this being a 2-week jam is that as a programmer, I was able to sort of focus all of my attention on programming. A lot of times in these 48-hour jams, everybody ends up having to put on so many hats because there's so much work that needs to be done in that moment. But with Sam taking on sort of the production and David taking on all the design work, I just had to worry about how was this going to all work in game.
I cannot express to you guys how awesome and how daunting it is to hear, because I am just a person who plays games. Like I've played some D&D games, I've run some campaigns, but every time I hear about game jams and I hear about the super compressed nature of them, it just makes my head spin, because I can't imagine trying to get all of those things and putting them all together. It's like it feels like putting together a D&D campaign while drafting the players that are going to be playing it while at a night, like at a bar. Like you, and you, let's come together. We're going to put together this campaign and we have to do it in 48 hours. What do you feel like if you had only the 48 hours to work on the game, how much of what you guys had finished do you feel like would have still made it in, and how much would have been things you would have had to cut?
I think the like battle system and the writing took so much time for me that I think I only would have been able to do one of them, and they would have had to get someone else to do the other stuff. Either that or like it would be more focused around one of the two, instead of sort of a mixture between battles and you haven't seen them yet, but there's like conversations that you have with each demon before you, or angel and demon before you fight them. Not like interactive ones, but
gotcha.
The way I see it, it's less exactly which systems would have been cut and more how much thought that went to each system. This entire game, and I think a lot of battle games or strategy games in general rely a lot on making sure that the game is balanced in such a way so that they are both beatable but not also trivial. And a lot of that thought is what took up most of the time. I think I technically could have coded up the entire battle system within a 48-hour period. I think I might have actually done that because of how late I joined in to this project. But without the thought that had gone into it ahead of time, I think either we would have had to ship something that might not have worked out as well as a battle system, or something that couldn't have had as many complex interactions. And of course, I'm only speaking to the programming part of that. We also had quite a few environments, 14 different party members / powers that you could get. That number probably would have been cut down by a substantial amount in a 48-hour jam.
Yeah.
On the reverse side of that, what are there any plans for continued development of Divine Intervention? Do you guys want to do more with it? And if so, what is the first thing, like if you guys could have 6 months to end up working on this, what would be one of the major things you would want to include or polished that you didn't get a chance to do during the slow jam?
So we haven't really talked about future plans for the game. It's if I were working on the game, like the thing that I would want to do that is more immediate would be I'd want to test the gameplay system, because there's still some stuff in it that I wish I'd had more time to test it out to work out some of the issues. But then, and this is completely not something that I could do. This would be something that they would have to bring someone else in to do. I think it would be cool if there were battle animations for them, like attacking and parrying and taunting. Because when I was thinking of that system in my head, I basically envisioned it kind of like a Devil May Cry battle, like attacking, countering, taunting the enemy when they're like putting up their guard, that kind of thing. So that's one of those things where I don't know how I'd make it work. I don't know if I could make it work, but it would be something that I would pitch if we were working on this longer.
So going kind of off of the compressed nature of this, well, although it's compressed nature, it's actually longer than the usual ones were.
Yeah.
Were there any specific challenges in, like, because I know in the case of some of the games that were more social and more like multiplayer, being apart made it a lot easier to develop those games because they were able to develop it in the exact environment that the game was played in. Were there challenges in having to design this and having to be to be apart from one another, or did that play anything into the process of designing this game?
For me, it's the only drawback it really had was when I had a weird idea for a gameplay system, I couldn't immediately turn to my team members and say, hey, I have this weird idea. I kind of want to test this. Does this like gel with everyone else's vision of the game? Other than that, like I tend to work better when I'm alone, I think, when I just have like a task that I need to really sit down and focus on. So I think it was kind of a mixed bag for me.
I found it to be very different from a traditional jam, maybe, obviously, in that you don't have that sort of immediate communication with team members. This team, I think, operated fairly top-down almost, where it was Sam with the initial ideas and then David sort of implementing those ideas. And I didn't actually have any sort of calls or chats with any of the other team members because it wasn't really necessary. We had our little chat in a Discord server, and all I really needed was to get information for what needed to be built, what the status of everything was, and what I was doing at any point in time, and things just could get done that way. But that requires sort of having a very strong leadership vision of someone saying, hey, this is what the game needs to look like, without having that discussion, which is more common in a in-person game jam.
So I'm looking at I'm actually now taking a good opportunity to really look at the gameplay for this. And I'm curious to know, when you're designing a game like this with an isometric kind of view, how tempting is it to kind of hide things just outside of the player's view? And I know that since this was kind of a compressed amount of time, were there things like that you guys wanted to include? Like, oh, we're going to hide a particular character around this corner, or we're going to hide this person so that they are only visible at this time. How difficult was it to not include those things? Or if you did include those things, how easy was it to kind of slide those little nods in?
I never really thought about that from a design perspective. I think that's more in the realm of our visual artist, who unfortunately isn't here today. It's just, speaking of, our visual artist, I think, did a fantastic job with the portraits and everything.
Soriani.
Yeah, Soriani.
She was the person who did all of our artwork, and She is not on this call, so don't quote me on this. But I think that she had a lot of creative freedom to sort of design these environments and put them in whatever arrangement she wanted. So if anybody has any idea as to whether or not we wanted these kind of Easter eggs, it would be her. But I don't think that was something that really came up in the course of development. The environments were very much, this is the place where you go and find these various angels and demons.
Yeah, it's speaking of the creative freedom aspect, actually, like with Soriani, I just typed up like a really, really vague outline of every angel and demon, and she just like went nuts with them. It was awesome to see. I was like waiting with bated breath. I was like, "Ooh, did she upload new portraits? Ooh, she uploaded new portraits. Awesome!" Like she did a fantastic job, I thought.
So the last thing I have to ask is, when you were coming up with the battle system, did you foresee certain combos in mind? Like, did you design them with the ideas of certain combos in mind, or were those things just kind of happy accidents? Because Amorphous mentioned that there was one character that healed you 1 HP every three turns, and then there's another character that whenever you got healed, you got an additional, I want to say it was an additional point to your taunt meter. So did those things did you set out to design those interactions, or was it one of those, well, this thing does this, and this thing does this, and this thing does this, and oh, if I put those together, that'll be cool. And how hard was it to balance around that idea?
What I did with that was I had some idea as to how like some of them would fit together. Like you said, the one with the taunt meter going up with healing, I knew that was going to be used in builds which were very healing heavy. And for other people, I was just kind of like, well, this power will increase attack, this power will increase taunt. The fun part was when, like you said, I would experiment with different combinations, and I would be like, oh, this combination is broken. Like the person you're fighting, Lucifer, their power, if you know how to use it, is extremely exploitable. Lucifer was by far my favorite power to use in playtesting. And it's the part of that I enjoyed was I'd find this broken combination and I would be like, well, I mean, if somebody uses this, like this makes them win the game, but it's really fun to use. And so some of those I was like, if they can figure this out, they've earned it.
Gotcha. I always wonder what that, as a player, I always wonder what that balance is like, because I always, like, you're sitting around and you sit there and you play something, you use something, you go, that's so busted. How did they miss that? And I also imagine that there's some developer going, if they put these things together, then it's on them what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, Amorphous, I know that we've talked a lot, and David and I have talked a lot about the design. Is there any particular things that you kind of want to like hint at that I may not have asked a question about, or is there any things that you really felt like really proud about in terms of working on this? Because I know you said you joined into this process halfway through, but it seems like even joining in halfway through, you're able to get a lot of stuff done during that process. So is there any particular thing that you're like, this was my favorite thing to do, or this is my favorite like line I read, or something along those lines?
That is such an open-ended question that I don't know where to begin.
And I do understand that was in hindsight, that was such a loaded question. I'm gonna take a couple of shells out of that one. Let me try this one. David did mention what his favorite character was in terms of what the powers were. What was one of your favorite characters in terms of programming how that power would work?
I have since forgotten exactly which power goes to which character, which I feel like it might be slightly terrible of me. But the one
I did the same thing while paper prototyping. Don't worry about it.
But there's a reason why I brought up the one that heals you, or no, sorry, the one that increases your taunt every time you are healed. because that one was a very unique interaction in terms of sort of how all the powers work. Most of the powers ended up either modifying one of your dice rolls, like some of the simpler ones add 1 to a specific roll for a specific action, +1 to attack, +1 to taunt. Some of them rely on what the enemy does, and say if the opponent parries and stuns you, you can still parry afterwards, or if the opponent taunts, you get some of their taunt bonus kind of deal. And those rely on just having knowledge of what actions were performed during the turn is enough to figure out how to resolve those power sets. But then there's the one that if someone else has already healed you this turn, then you add taunt. And that can't be resolved until everything else has already been resolved. And so I had this really nice system set up to create all these powers and make sure that they all worked with each other, that mostly relied on what the roles were and what each party in the battle had done that turn. And then I had to create another rule on top of that for this is what happens at the very end of the turn after everything has resolved, just for that one skill. And I think, I don't know, I thought that was an interesting thing that sort of happened as a result of that. Because I don't think that when you're designing a power, you really think about, oh, when exactly do we know whether or not this power is going to activate or what this power is going to do. But different ones will have different requirements that have to be met ahead of time.
There's only one thing left really to ask, and that is where can we find Divine Intervention and where can we find more from you guys? Like, where do you guys live on the internet? Where can we find your work and the things you do?
So you can find me on Twitter at David Hudson 42. If you want to see just some of the stupidest short thoughts that you've ever seen in your life, as well as news from any game projects that I'm working on. It's also got a link to my portfolio where you can play, I think, like, yeah, pretty much almost everything I've worked on you can play in my portfolio, and I think there's a link to it in my Twitter.
Oh no, the mortifying ordeal of being known. Well, I have a Twitter at _Amorphous, which I think is on the stream right now, because unfortunately I've made the choice of using a name that is a common English word, so Amorphous was taken. I am not terribly active on Twitter, but I do put game dev stuff on there sometimes. I also have a website at amorphic.space, which has more games related stuff and also not games related stuff on there. Basically anything I make ends up on my website at some point.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, chat, I hope that you make sure to check out both Amorphous and David, and go ahead and check out Divine Intervention. It won Best Narrative, and I can definitely see that from the passion that David had in describing, writing that process out. So we have a link in the chat for Divine Intervention, so make sure to check that out. And we're going to go to a quick break, and then I think we'll be kind of closing it out. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for being here with me, David and Amorphous. And
thank you for having me.
By all means. And we'll see you guys in just a moment. So stay tuned. embarrassing, but
All right. Well, that was a great stream. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Got to see a lot of awesome games today. There was 5 more games that were created. That if you go to the itch page for the Game Jam Seattle Indies Slow Jam 2020, you can download the rest of them and try them, and download the ones you saw today. You can find more information about most of them in the chat. Follow us at Seattle Indies on Twitter, and you can find all of the upcoming events and fun things that we have going on. We have indie support group happening right now on our Discord that most of the people that were just on our stream are all a part of. So they'll be there working on their games, maybe their jam games, maybe other games, talking about game development, answering your questions. Drop into our Discord and go to the indie support group voice channel and talk with all those cool people that you just watched on the stream. We have a fun holiday party coming up that's going to be online this year, not quite our usual exciting in-person holiday party, but we'll do something fun at the least. And then as for game jams, we have Global Game Jam that we'll be participating in this year at the end of January. It's going to be online this year as well, thanks to everything that's happening. Yeah, that's what we have coming up. But yeah, no, thanks Alchemist Joker for hosting the stream here and all the great questions you ask and great interactions you had with our developers. Any last words you want to add here?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for having me. It was a blast to be able to come and help showcase these games off. And like I was saying to you as we were coming back, like as a lot of times as a consumer of video games, there are a lot of times where you only think about game development, or you think about those smaller parts of it when something doesn't function the way you want it to. So to have these types of moments where you can showcase the people behind it, and you can really give them accolades for the really cool things, like, man, I love the idle animation in the Cryptozootography. I love the way that the dragon looks in Witch Wizard. I love the dialogue in Divine Intervention. I just love each of these different things. I love the physics and the music in Pushy Shovey. I love the strategy in SheepCreep. Being able to tell that to those developers, as opposed to trying to get it through a message or get it through Twitter, I feel like it means a lot, because it can be that push to keep people in this genre, and you never know how high they can go when they have that motivation. So thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for all of the devs for showcasing these awesome games and listening to my questions and letting me go through Pushy Shovey Funtime with Friends trademark and laughing when I stumble over it. It was a blast. I enjoyed every part of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, these were some really amazing games. Just for Game Jam games, and even just on their own, they stand as really fun games, and hope everybody goes to check them out, goes to play them again, talks to the devs that made them, and joins us for another Game Jam later and tries to see what they can make. So yeah, thanks
I will definitely keep an eye out for the next one, so I can see what I'm going to be obsessed about next.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Well, with that, I think we're signing out here. So guys, thank you for joining us. Make sure to go and check out each of those games. They're all going to be in the chat in various points. I have been Alchemist Joker, your humble host for this. And until next time, take it easy and be kind to one another, all right?
See you, everybody.